I've always been interested in making things, and my parents, my dad's a watchmaker, or he was now, he's got dementia. Mum is 80, but she still is making things for friends, and you know, she's pretty much non-stop, so it's always been part of the genes. But I've loved being outside, I've loved making things with wood on a kind of random basis throughout my life. But we lived overseas in Turkey, and we came back 2011. I had to make a decision about a change of career. I didn't want to carry on doing the same thing. I wanted to do something that I enjoyed doing in terms of work, and I thought, you know, to get into making furniture. And quickly I signed up for a local college, so I was training with 16-year-olds, and I was older than the lecturers, but they were glad I was there, because they said the kids really behave themselves when I'm around. But I tried to learn as much as I could. Eventually got to, so I could be working in the cabinet makers and joiners, which I enjoy. But what I discovered from a friend was that I could combine my love of being outside in nature and doing woodwork with green wood, fresh felled wood, and got hooked. My friend was involved in the rebuild of the Globe Theatre, and so he was very experienced in green woodwork, and he actually gave me a book by a guy called Mike Abbott on green woodwork, and the only thing I had the space for was to actually carve a spoon, and I absolutely loved it. I followed that up with a course with Barn the Spoon in London, and that was great because he sharpened my knives, and it made it a lot more enjoyable. And after a year or so, I started carving a spoon a week, and then it kind of carried on from there, snowballed from there. Every morning I go for a walk in the woods or by the river, and there's nearly always branches that have fallen down, or someone's done some felling, and so there's nearly always wood available. The Sunday morning of when the wind first ripped through here, I went for a 15-minute walk in the woods, which was exhilarating. The actual power of nature shaking these trees, knowing that is going across the whole of the country, is quite an amazing thought. I think I first moved into the unit a couple of years ago, February time, and I would only be able to get into the unit for maybe 2 or 3 days a month, so I didn't completely abandon the family. Anyway, in May that year, we went out to Spain to see some good friends, and sat next to a young Lebanese chap, very friendly, chatting about life and faith. Literally, we talked the whole journey, and halfway through the journey he turned to me and said, "What are you passionate about?" So I said, "Well, I'm passionate about being in the woods, that's where I feel closest to God, and carving spoons." And he said, "Well, why don't you just give up your job and go and do that full time? You know, if it doesn't work out, you can always then get your job back." So I said, "Well," and my wife is giving me a nudge because she's wanting me to do that as well. But I'm thinking, well, I really do need to have a bit more of a guaranteed income. He said, "Well, maybe you can go part-time." So I said, "You know what? I'm going to have a re-look at my finances and see if I can do that, and then approach my boss." When we got to Malaga in Spain, he introduced us to his fiancée, and she turned to us, me and my wife, and said, "Do you know Barn the Spoon?" And I was completely flabbergasted. I mean, Barn the Spoon is like the spoon celebrity of the UK, and a lot of people know him outside the community, but I was not expecting that. And I said, "How do you know Barn?" And she said, "Well, Barn's dad was the headmaster at my school." And I thought, well, I turned to this Lebanese guy and said, "I think that's a sign from God that this is something I should pursue." And I got back, I approached the owner of our company. I said, "Danny, my dream scenario is to work for you for 3 days and work in the woods for 3 days. What do you think?" And a couple of weeks later he got back and said, "Okay, let's give it a shot." And so it has been a great journey since then, being here and enjoying carving and trying to make a trying to make a living from carving spoons.